Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Cole, and welcome back to Speak from the Heart, a testimonial series where athletes can speak about their faith and the journey that was behind it. And today I have what would have been my teammate 3 years ago, but is now my teammate at the University of the Cumberlands, our catcher, the captain, Clay Shelton.
Shelton hitting .310 with a home run and 12 batted in. Shelton, he's just tanked one.
Attaboy, Clay.
Clay Shelton with a home run. He hit it down in his bedroom. Shelton with a home run.
From Clay Shelton.
You find
So welcome to the show, man. I'm really excited to have you on.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so you played at Whitley County. Tell me about your start with baseball. I mean, we played each other in high school. You grew up in Williamsburg, Kentucky. What was kind of growing up with baseball like? What was high school like? And tell me some of the people that helped you throughout your beginning and throughout your high school career.
Yeah, so I guess it's a pretty generic answer, but my dad was kind of like there my whole life. He never pushed me to play baseball, which I really appreciated. I think that helped me love the game more. I saw my friends who were a lot better than me at a younger age. Their dads were kind of like, "We got to get you drafted. You're going D1," and my dad was never really like that.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. It helped me just kind of relax and just play and enjoy it as a kid. That meant a lot to me because I did feel pressure like, oh, my dad's a coach and I'm so much worse than these other kids. Like I just wasn't good growing up. And so that really helped me to just love the game. I loved basketball. I loved football. Honestly, I was probably better at basketball and football growing up. Kind of the two things that I preferred over baseball from a young age. But as I continued to get older, I was like, you know what? I really like baseball. This dude in my life, his job is baseball. He's a baseball coach, my dad, and he doesn't really push this on me. And that kind of like ignited my fire for it. So yeah, going through elementary school, middle school wasn't really good. Just kind of played for fun, played to hang out with my friends. We got into high school. And I had a really good group of seniors, the kids that I graduated with. We were together all through middle school, and when we got into high school, we all kind of took a next step. We really developed. We had a okay freshman year with a coach that he made it difficult on us. It was it was hard. It was just a different style of baseball than we were used to. He ended up leaving after my freshman year, and we brought in Coach Shope my sophomore year. He came from Mercer County, and he's played a huge role in my life, everything that he's done for me and our baseball program. He really turned our program around. That very first year he was there, we got out of the district for the first time in 13 years, and we went to the region championship that season. I think it was the second time in school history. So yeah, he had a huge influence on my life, starting my sophomore year of high school. Him coming to Whitley kind of made me think, you know what, I really want to lock in and play baseball. I want to try to play college baseball as long as I can. So he got there, turned things around, had a good sophomore year, district and region runner up. So we were kind of like, you know what, we need to take that next step. The next year, we had a pretty good team. Same sort of thing. We fell short in the district championship, and then we got upset in the region. And so after that, it was kind of like, man, one more year. We got a good group coming back. We put a ton of work in that off season, and of course that was COVID. So that kind of put a damper on the senior year. But that was that season was a culmination of just a lot of hard work, and Coach Shope was a huge factor in that.
Yeah. And I can touch on that about COVID. You lost your senior season due to COVID. So how did that shape your mindset, heading into college ball?
Yeah. I'm kind of at the point where it's it's sickening to talk about, but at the same time, it's that's life. It's 5 years. I don't want to be the person that's 92, like, well, I remember when my senior year got canceled. Like, I don't want to be that kind of person. Like, people go through a lot harder stuff than losing baseball. Like, and that was a really, really big thing that I really kind of learned when that was going on, is like, it sucked. You lost your senior year, but like, there's bigger things in the world. People are dying. This is serious. So that was kind of like a reality check. And while we were all really upset, we all thought we could win the state championship. Which is funny. The freshman group, my senior year, actually was the senior group the season that Whitley County did win the state championship. So it's kind of like, that was, I mean, we wanted to win the state, but when they won it, it was kind of like the last group that we played with in high school gets to win the state championship. So that was kind of like, it was really fulfilling just to see those guys win and see that hard work pay off, But yeah, the COVID was a tough time. Stinks losing your senior year. But like I said, I use that time to just kind of get better at baseball, grow closer to the Lord. That was just like, nobody's doing anything. Now's the time to just really focus in, like, just like be still, you're not going out and doing anything. So, baseball and the Lord, that was just my two focuses throughout COVID. And then it kind of got a little crazy going into college. We had fifth year, 6 year guys coming back, transfers coming in, just kind of hectic. I didn't really know what to expect going into my senior year or going into my freshman year. I was wearing masks everywhere that whole summer, going on like visits and like checking out the campus at Eastern and stuff. So it was weird, but it's a time in my life that I like. It was a grind at the time, and I remember just thinking like, this is awful, just COVID and everything going on. But like, I look back and although it was difficult for a lot of people and it was difficult for me too, I'm thankful that like the Lord got me and others through that.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I remember Whitley was always tough. I'll touch on that. Whitley was always tough. Like, you guys were always good. You and Petey. And I feel like y'all gave us some problems. I wasn't amazing in high school. I wasn't a very good hitter. And I think my glove was starting to get there. And so whenever we would play y'all were always tough. I always enjoyed going to Whitley, and y'all's field was awesome. And I enjoyed playing against you guys. But yeah, COVID was interesting. I remember it was my sophomore year, and I remember looking at the seniors and being like, dang, that sucks. Like, that's got to hurt. And I felt for y'all. And we had one senior my sophomore year. Luckily, we didn't have, like 8 to 10 dudes that other programs did, other high schools did, where they're just like, these guys are gone and they don't even get their chance. Like, this is their huge year. And that was something that I wanted to talk to you about, because I knew that y'all were pretty good. But yeah, that's just a tough time. And I remember being inside for that long was hard. But yeah, so let's go a little bit before. This was like 3 or 4 months before COVID starting to hit. But you signed your letter of intent November 2019. And this was a month before I committed. So I had already known of you. Like, I knew that, like, I've always was interested in going to EKU. It was about an hour away from my house.
Yeah.
And my uncle went there. My dad went there for a semester. My other uncle went there. So like, I've always wanted to go there. So I was interested in the people that they were committing, and I saw that you were going whenever you signed your letter of intent, and it was under Coach Thompson. So how did you get recruited and recognized, and what were your feelings towards going to college, going to EKU, playing for Coach T? Like, were you excited? Were you nervous? Just walk me through that.
Yeah. So I first started getting recruited, just not by Eastern, but just to schools in general, my junior year, mainly like the spring of my junior year, and then going into the summer. And so I was like, everybody, like, that's the thought is like, oh, D1, everybody, that's what everybody's thinking. But my whole life, my dad has been a very good NAI baseball coach. And I've seen, oh man, NAI has D1 level teams, like these dudes can beat anybody. And so I didn't really, even though in my head I knew the level of competition was good just about anywhere you went. My thought was like just the generic, like everybody wants to play at the highest level possible. And so I want to try to play Division I. So junior year, spring, summer, I started reaching out to schools. Schools started reaching out to me, just really trying to find the right fit. And my dad was really heavy on like, go to the school that you want to go to that fits your needs. Don't just go to a Division I just to go to a Division I. And he honestly was like, just don't come to Cumberlands. He's like, you've been here your whole life. He never explicitly told me that, but it was pretty clear to me. Like he was pushing me, like just leave the nest, check out another place, experience new things, which I really appreciated. And so yeah, he was kind of pushed me. And my mom was doing the same thing, but she's moms and dads, it's completely different. My dad was like, just find somewhere else. And then of course my mom would have loved me to be at Cumberlands from the get go. But yeah, so I had some really good advice. And so that fall, it's actually pretty funny. I hadn't thought about playing football for years, since I was in like middle school. And I thought, man, this is my last chance to play football. I really want to play. Like our team's going to be good. That would be sick. And my dad was like, if you get hurt playing football and you lose your senior year, ironic because I lost it anyways, but he's like, and you lose your senior year, he was like, you would be so sick to your stomach. And I was like, you know what? That's a good point. Yeah. And he was like, do you prefer to play one? And he was genuinely asking. He's like, do you prefer to play one fall of football or college baseball? And I was like, oh, that is true, So I decided not to play football. And then that fall, Coach Shope was like, hey, we're going to be competing in a fall league at Eastern Kentucky. And I was like, oh, that's sick, And so we played a bunch of different schools. I played well, not as good as I was capable, but I defensively was the thing that kind of I think caught the coach's attention. I talked to Coach Thompson throughout the games, throughout the league. I think we would play like 1 or 2 games a week. We'd go up there, and he would kind of talk to me each day. And then at the very end, he was like, Clay, I want you to stay after. We had like a little like prospect camp after the league was over. All the teams, it was like an all-star thing. And so after, he was like, I want you to stay after. I went into his office, and he was just kind of like, we really like you defensively. We think you have the potential offensively. He was like, you've shown flashes and we would like to offer you. And so I was kind of like, whoa, like Division I offer. And like we had been talking, and like, I kind of thought that he would offer at some point, but when he offers, I'm like, yeah, this is sick. And so I like shook his hand, was very thankful, asked all the questions I needed to. And then I left. I didn't commit. I left, and I was kind of like, dude, Kentucky ain't calling me, Tennessee's not calling me. Vandy's not calling me. So I was kind of like, you know what? Like, it's an hour away. It's a good program. The coach is a good person. I like the campus. I like the facilities and stuff. I'm like, what am I waiting for? So I called my dad. I was like, hey, like, I'd already called him and let him know everything that was going on. I was like, hey, what am I waiting for? And he was like, yeah, if you want to commit, now's the time. I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to. And I remember thinking, if I commit, I'm losing out on the possibility of really, because I mean, obviously anybody plans to have a good season, but I plan on having a very good senior season and thinking like, okay, see what other offers I can get. I was like, you know what? This is the place I want to be. I was like, there's no need of waiting. And then I'm glad I didn't wait, because maybe if I waited in the spring, didn't have a season, there would have been no offer for me. So I called him back right then. It's like, Coach T, very thankful. I would just like to let you know that I'm committing. So we're pumped about that. Committed. I guess that was probably October. And then I signed in November. And so from that time till March, when it got canceled, I was thinking like, okay, the expectation was you have they had a bunch of really good catchers. I think one was going to graduate. One was probably going to sign pro. One guy was coming back off of injury. And then you assume they're going to bring in a couple. So I'm thinking like, okay, I have a shot. Like they're losing a bunch of people. So that was my thought from the time I committed till March. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to play right away as a freshman, learn as much as possible, and just get that experience. So that was kind of my recruitment. It's kind of different than most people because I had the benefit of going to that league, which was really cool. And I'm thankful, like God put Coach Shope in my life for all kinds of different reasons. But I think that was a smaller one of like, we would have never done anything like that with our old coaching staff. And that's not a knock on them. That just wasn't the thing they did. So when Coach Shope came to Whitley, took us to that, and that was just good exposure. And I think that's what a good high school coach does. They want their kids to have good experience, and they want coaches to see them. So I'm really thankful for that. But yeah, that's kind of how my recruiting process went.
Yeah, it's very similar to how like the way that you talked about it. It was very similar to mine. I went to a camp. We didn't have like a team that we didn't play in Richmond. We didn't play at EKU. We did play some summer games. And this was when I was already committed. This was during COVID time when we started playing summer games at EKU. But yeah, so like it was after my freshman year, and then I was going to camps. My dad always wanted me to go. And I really appreciate that now looking back, that he pushed me to go do those things, like how you talk about how your dad would do those things for you also. So yeah, I went and I played really well. Coach Thompson talked to me very briefly, and he wanted me to come back to a hitting camp that they were doing. And so we played a scrimmage. I went 2 for 4 with a single and a triple. I did pretty well, and he offered me. And like you said, I didn't give him like a direct like answer. I was just like, thank you so much, coach. I really appreciate it. And then, I'm going back home. My dad's like, just make your decision. Like, I feel like this is a pretty clear answer. Like,
Yeah.
come on, you've always wanted this. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I need to say yes. And so I called him back and I was like, coach, I'm ready to be a colonel. I'm ready to go. That was surreal. I don't regret committing too early. It was nice to know that I didn't have to like, I guess have that urgency that like, oh shoot, like I got to find a place to play. I'm nervous. Maybe no coach reaches out to me. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it would have been different. But I mean, looking back, maybe. But I mean, you could always say that 2020 vision when you're looking back. But I was really appreciative of Coach TC in that and giving me an opportunity to go play Division I. I think that's the dream for everybody. So tell me about when you got on campus. So like you get on campus, COVID's still happening. You mentioned briefly like having to wear masks all the time, and practices are here and there, and everything is just crazy. And then out of nowhere, Coach Thompson's like, I'm leaving. So like, what was your initial reaction to that? And did that question like your future at EKU?
Yeah, so it really, really weird. I probably saw Coach Thompson one time between the first day I got on campus, which was like early August, and then probably like mid-October. I saw him one time. COVID had everything whack. We were doing obviously virtual classes. We couldn't have practice. There were only certain times we were allowed to go to the field. We couldn't go to the team weight room. We had to go to I can't even remember what it's called, like a rec. That shows how old I am. I don't even remember what it's called. And we had basically all we could do was team conditioning. So we would just be on the field and we would just run. Like that was all we did. I'm like, this is not fun. Like I was kind of at the point, I'm a freshman. I'm like, I don't care, like let's freaking go. Give me whatever. Like I'm trying to go hard, like I wasn't there like, man, I don't want to do this, but it was like, this stinks. We're not even doing baseball. We're just running all the time. And so, yeah, it was really weird at first. I hadn't even had the practice. And then basically just on Twitter, it was like Coach Thompson's leaving. And we're all like, what the heck? And so the older guys were kind of like, their reaction was different than ours because they had been there for so long. Like I think they were more shocked than we were because the coach they had been with for so long was gone. But the younger guys were like, what do we do? Like we have done nothing so far we haven't even practiced in college
Mhm.
yet, and now we have a new coach. And so everybody was just like confused, really. I remember we had a Zoom, and Coach T was like, "Hey guys, I'm leaving. I couldn't turn it down." And it was like a great opportunity for him. Like, you can't blame him for taking that. But everybody else was just kind of like, "What do we do now?" And so that put us, even though it was a weird like month or two, that put us even into a weirder month or two. So for the next 2 weeks or so, we had an interim coach, Coach Cole, who was on the staff before, and all the other guys were like, "We love Coach Cole. You guys will love him too." So he ran practice for maybe a week or two. So basically, when Coach Thompson left, it was like, we're going to start practicing now. So we start practicing with the interim head coach. And it's really weird because we have one coach on staff, basically. He's leading the entire practice. It was odd. It was kind of like it felt kind of like summer ballish. We're just out there just kind of like trying our best. And then they were doing the coaching search that whole time. And then I think we had like a Zoom call. We get in the call, and they tell us who the head coach is going to be, who they're hiring. And then we had a meeting with him within that week with Coach Pro. And then the second he was able to get to Richmond, we started practicing. By that point, we had lost almost 2 months, of the fall. So we had to get going instantly. We started practice. It was crazy. Like a new head coach coming in, first year head coach, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And it was like a bunch of guys that weren't his players, just kind of different coaching style than what everybody else was used to. We didn't know what Coach T was like, so it was just kind of like all we had to gauge off of. We just kind of grinded out that fall. I mean, it was an experience for sure. Especially being a freshman. It kind of wasn't how I expected my freshman fall to go. But if I was to step back and look at my experience from a non-biased perspective, I would say I handled it pretty good. It was challenging, like physically and mentally. The competition was good every day. It felt like we were inter-squatting. It felt like we didn't really practice a whole lot. It was just a lot of playing. And if I was to like judge my performance, I would say I handled things well, but I had areas of struggle just like any freshman would, and mentally it was challenging, but it was good for me as a person to experience something difficult, which I hadn't really had in high school. Like most of the time, high school is a breeze. The teams you're playing aren't very good, and practice isn't challenging. But so as a person and a player, I think it was really beneficial for me to grow.
Yeah. I remember it was after a workout that me and Dad had. I was just working out at our field house and just taking ground balls, and I'm getting a call from Coach Thompson, and he's like, "Cole, I just want to tell you, like, I'm leaving." And I remember that freak out moment. Like, it felt like everything was spiraling for me. And I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. Like, me and my dad were sitting there like, I don't know we don't know what to do. And he told me that he wanted to offer me to come to Georgetown. And so we ventured down that path. Had a Zoom call with him. He gave me a scholarship and told me he wanted me to be there. And I would have put my parents in insane debt if I decided to go there. I mean, it was like 120,000. I don't want to give a wrong number, but it was a whole lot of money. Thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. And I'm going to come out of there. I mean, at the time I wanted to do like digital forensics, cybersecurity stuff. And so, I mean, I wasn't gonna, I may have found a good job in that, but now with AI, cybersecurity is, kind of cooked with AI, running that part of it. But I mean, in the end, I probably would have went into business. Like I'm coming out of there with a business degree. Like it would have been really hard. And at that time, I don't think I was mentally ready.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a 10-hour drive. Like I was already very like, I remember the week before I left for EKU, I told my parents like, dang, I don't really feel like I'm ready. Like I don't feel like I'm ready for college yet. Just like mentally, I was very attached to home, and obviously, freshmen, they get like that. A lot of them are excited. I teetered. I was excited for the new atmosphere. College is really exciting. But I was like, dang, I'm moving away. Like when I come back home, it won't be the same again. So yeah, that was interesting time. Yeah, so I tried to get a hold of Pro. I knew that because I decided to stick with EKU. I decided, we had talked very briefly. It was like a 5-minute conversation. And he was like, man, I honor your scholarship, excited to get you on campus. Hangs up. I was like, okay, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Cause like, I don't know this guy. I don't know how college works. I don't know how he works. So I went on my official visit with him. And I've learned that, I feel like you don't get a good grasp of the coach from just talking on the phone. I feel like you really get to know who they are whenever you get on campus. So, the conversation was great. I thought he was a great guy. I was like, dang, okay, I feel a lot better. So I decided to stick it through. Who was the assistant coach that was there? I can't remember his name, but he went to Georgia.
Are you talking about with Thompson?
With Pro. He brought in, I think, dang, I can't remember his name, man.
So the coaches when I was there with Pro, it was Waff.
Yes.
It was
okay. Yeah, Coach Waff. He came and watched me play my junior year, and he was like, "Dude, I played pretty good. I went 2 for 3 with a couple singles," and he was like, "Man, we're excited to have you, dude. It's so awesome." He was the only coach that had seen me play. Pro or Jones had never watched me, or in person at least. Like they had never seen me play in person. They've seen clips, I'm sure, because I remember Pro telling me like he saw me make a play up the middle on my official visit, but they never watched me play. So I'm going to ask you, like, so this coaching change happens, and your whole environment like kind of shifts. So how did that first year with Pro like kind of challenge you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually?
Yeah, so kind of went through like the beginning process of everything with the fall and stuff. Like I said, it was a challenging time, but I do think it was beneficial. But right before Christmas break, we had like the typical exit meetings at the end of the semester. Went in the office, and he was just kind of like, Clay, I'm sure you know this, but we're probably going to redshirt you. He said it'll be dependent on how you perform when you get back from Christmas break. He says, but as of right now, we're leaning towards redshirting you. And we said, I remember he was like, I'm sure you know. And I remember thinking, no, I had no idea that was a possibility. So that kind of like threw me for a loop. It was really funny. I remember just talking, like just being honest and realistic. I hit really, really well. I hit over 300 the fall. I can't remember what it was, but I remember thinking like, holy cow, I'm actually hitting well. Because my whole thing was like good catcher, solid hitter. And so I'm like, okay, I need to take a jump. That's when all the work was put in during COVID, my like senior summer and stuff. And so I was like, man, this is really paying off. I'm really swinging it well. But I mean, I struggled defensively some because I mean, we have dudes that I had never caught at Whitley County High School. Like I love my pitchers at Whitley County High School. They're my best friends to this day. I text them all the time, but they didn't have the stuff that these dudes at Eastern had. So I wasn't really used to that. So I struggled a little bit with that, 100% being honest. But when he was like, you're going to redshirt, I was kind of shocked. And he said, I remember he was like, I don't care how good of a hitter you are. He's like, you've hit really well this fall. He was like, if you can't improve defensively, you can't play here. And I remember thinking like, dang, dude, like that's hilarious because when I was getting recruited, he was like, hey, we just need you to improve offensively. You're a good defensive catcher. So I found that hilarious. Like,
Mhm.
and honestly, like I struggled defensively some. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, that was ridiculous. But redshirting had never crossed my mind. I thought I had done enough offensively and I was a good enough defensive catcher in my career that I would figure out the defense part of it, getting used to a pitching staff that had the stuff that kind of staff had. So yeah, he said you're going to redshirt probably. I was shocked, but I remember I went home for Christmas and I was like, I'm not redshirting. Like that was my thought. Like I got it. I want to play. Worked my butt off all Christmas break, and I remember one of my good buddies, Will King, committed that over Christmas break, and he came at the break, and so it was like, oh wow, like we have another catcher now, and it was at that point I was kind of like, it had nothing to do with how good I was going to do when I came back from Christmas break. I was redshirt regardless.
Yeah.
Which that didn't change my mindset. I still was like working my butt off. But yeah, I got back from Christmas break. I remember I went 0 for 0 with 4 walks. Was I'll never forget that when I got back from Christmas break. And then we had another meeting. He was like, "Hey Clay, we're gonna redshirt you." And I was like, I was right. It had nothing to do with after Christmas break. But I mean, that's part of it. Like I don't blame anybody for that. So I redshirted. I'm really thankful. He was like, "We're gonna take you on all the road trips." He's like, "You can catch in the pen and like warm up with us and stuff, but we're gonna have you come along." And I was pumped. I was like, I would rather play, but like I want the experience too, So I'm grateful for that, and I'm also grateful that he was realistic with me. He could have easily been like, put me in 2 games and get 1 at bat, wasting my year of eligibility, and like I'd have been thinking like, well, dang, why didn't I redshirt? So I'm grateful that he was upfront and honest about that.
Yeah.
And obviously, as a competitor in my head, I'm thinking like I could be playing right now, but sometimes coaches don't see that way, and that's fine. That's how it goes. So yeah, we had a tough season. I traveled everywhere. I was the bullpen dude, just catching the pins. And I remember I tweaked my shoulder. It was already bothering me in the fall, but I remember thinking like, if I'm going to play, I'm just going to fight through it. But when he told me I was redshirt, and I was like, all right, I want my shoulder checked out too. Like if I'm already not going to play, I just need to make sure I'm healthy when I get back. So I was in the bullpen having to underhand it back to pitchers and stuff. So that was tough, but I was catching all the bullpens possible. Going on road trips. It was a good experience. I got to see things that I would have never gotten to see. I was pretty upset because as a junior in high school, I remember thinking like, I struggled as a junior. I had some injuries. And I remember thinking like, dude, I can't wait to just like play baseball again, feel good. And that was supposed to be 2020, my senior year. That didn't happen. 2021, I was just in the bullpen, redshirting, couldn't play a game. And so I was kind of like, I was really frustrated. It felt like I hadn't played baseball in forever. But it was kind of like a reality check of baseball is not my life. It's something that I do. It's not who I am. And so that was really good for me, even though it did stink and I would have loved to have played. Everything worked out in the end, and it really helped me grow as a person. And then as a player, I was grinding every day in the cage just because, I mean, I didn't have the fear of, oh, we got a game tomorrow. It was like, no, I can just develop right now. And then as my relationship with Christ, it really helped that. Something I think back on a lot during COVID. Most churches were kind of virtual or doing whatever. It was different. I remember I did like drive-in services sometimes. It was just crazy. But when I went to Eastern, I was like, COVID, you got to quarantine. They're doing contact tracing, all this stuff. I was like, I'll just go to FCA throughout the year. Like on, I guess it was Wednesday or Tuesday nights or whatever. I'll just go to FCA, and that'll be like my church. I I won't go to a church. I'll just do that. And then I remember being convicted in the spring towards the end. I was like, dude, like I should have found a church that I could go to and connect with, not just college athletes, which that was great. But I should have been doing both. And so I got convicted of that towards the end when I was redshirting, because it was like, it was almost as if from August to May, my entire focus was just baseball, like that's all it was. And I was like, I remember thinking, oh, we long weekend series. I'm tired. I'm just going to sleep in tomorrow. Because that was easier to do than finding a church in Richmond that I didn't know anybody during COVID. Like it was just a weird time. But I remember being convicted of that. And that really, that's kind of stayed with me. I mean, it's been years, but now I'm kind of thinking like, it's so important to be in a church. And that's something I'll carry with me for the rest of my life, because I remember feeling like disconnected at that point. I was like, no, clearly I've made baseball my idol, because if you look at the time I'm devoting to that compared to the Lord, it's not even close, So those sorts of things, even though I was not playing baseball, which was upsetting, like I feel like I grew spiritually in that way and just as a person.
Yeah. I completely agree with making it your idol, because my first 2 years there, I was so focused on proving everybody wrong and being a baseball player and being the best that I could be. And dude, that process was so draining. Like it's so unfulfilling because I felt the disconnect too. I wasn't going to church. I would go to FCA. I would do the Bible studies. I would do our men's Bible studies, but I really wasn't living that way. I was so like revenge focused. Like I was like, I'm going to prove you all wrong. Like you were wrong about me. I'm not going to let you like in my career here. And I remember leaving there. I was just so defeated, and I felt so much conviction, like you said, of just like, I did not use God, like ask God for help. Like I would ask him for help, but I really wasn't living the way I needed to. I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't going to church. I wasn't doing anything that would give him, why should I help you? You're my son. I want you to do well. But I don't think I was living the right way for him to, reward me or bless me in any way. So looking back, whenever I transferred to IUS, I was like, I'm not going to live that way anymore. I'm going to, do the best I can, uplift my teammates the best that I can with my Bible studies. Because I remember the fear of going. I actually DM'd Logan LT, who was the shortstop, and this was on June 13th, 2021. And I said, hey, Logan, I'm committed to EKU. I had a quick question about Coach Pro. I had seen that 24 guys were in the transfer portal, and it concerned me. So I was really nervous at this point. And I said, I wanted your take on how he is. I haven't gotten to talk to him the times that I've talked to him have been very brief. I was really worried about my future at EKU. And I was a junior at high school at the time. But yeah, I was very, very worried about how my future would go. So I think that what I wanted to take from what you experienced was, how did you question God at all through that year and like the transfer portal process? Like we talked about, some experiences that we had with Pro, and we laugh, but like those are really hard times. I think that's what molded that. I can speak for myself in this. It molded me to be who I am now. It made me very much tougher, even though it was really hard times and, just a very hard process to be coached by him. But I really questioned God. I was really like, why am I here? My parents were in a tough place with seeing me go through the struggle that I went through there. As parents do. I'm not going to be like, I didn't, like, everyone's going to struggle. Like you said, your freshman year, like you're going to go through those ups and downs. But I really questioned God. I really was not in a good place mentally. and my faith was very much tested. I did not know why I was there. I had so many questions of why did Coach T have to leave? Why didn't I feel more convicted to leave after, pro came in? Why am I here? And I got that cycle, I'll spin back on that. But did you have any questions throughout your time there and like the transfer portal process? Like did you question God at all, or was your faith tested in any way through that process?
Yeah. So, I was kind of different than most people on the team, because a lot of them, their mindset was, well, if I leave or if I am forced out, where am I going to go? They're like, I have nowhere. A lot of these guys, they had no stats. They had never played in a college baseball game. And so I had the benefit. I mean, it sounds like, I was like, my dad is a coach at a top 10 NAI baseball program. Like I kind of had that as like a fallback option, when a lot of people would be blessed, would love to have that as a top option, And so like, I'm in this situation going through a tough time, and in my head, I'm like, I can always just go back home and play for Cumberlands, was kind of my thought. And I talked to other people, and they'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I was grateful to have that. And I don't know, I'm not trying to downplay any of that or make any of it seem insignificant or like shade towards Cumberlands, like Eastern, anything like that. But to me, it was like, my dad is a coach at another school. I have another option. The other people didn't have that. And so I remember thinking, honestly, since like January, or it was like Christmas break, when I was told I was going to redshirt, basically, I was like, I'm going to go and I'm going to have a great year. I'm going to prove people wrong, like you were talking about, and then I'm not going to go back. Like if I was the starting catcher of 50 games, hit 400, I wasn't going to go back. If I didn't play a single time, I wasn't going to go back. So like my mindset was like, you have nothing to lose, kind of. I went back and I was the comedian, and people thought I was like a clown, I was just goofing around. Like I really had nothing to lose. I mean, and I wasn't being a bad teammate, but I was just kind of like, hey, let's go have fun, play some baseball today. Even though in my mind, I'm like, this stinks, I'm not playing. But it really started to hit me towards the end of the fall. I was like, dude, do I even really want to play baseball anymore? I was like, is this worth it? And I knew not all experiences were the same. I knew people were enjoying their college freshman year and stuff. But in my mind, I'm like, I just don't know if I want to do this. And I never was fully like on the fence about like playing baseball or not. But in my mind, I was like, well, I enjoy playing baseball. I was never really going to just stop playing, but I was kind of like, are these next 3 years going to stink? Like, am I just going to like not really love it? And like my parents were really encouraging, just kind of like, just have fun. Don't let anybody or anything steal your joy. So I was just that's when I kind of adopted that, I'm just going to go in and just kind of be a goofball and just roll with it. Like if I'm getting yelled at or if I'm not playing or getting ignored, so what? It's part of life, and it's part of, honestly, college sports, unfortunately, for a lot of parts of it. So yeah, I really questioned my future in baseball. That was the thing that I was questioning the most. I was like, should I just go back home and get a job? Should I just go be a student? And then I remember, me and my roommate, we had a countdown board until the end of the semester. And so every day we would erase a day. It was like a check. When we would erase a day, it would be like, 60 days remaining or whatever. And I remember that last, my roommate redshirted too, and he was a medical redshirt, so he didn't even travel. So he went home a month early. So that last month of the season with no classes, I was in my dorm by myself, and that was a weird feeling. It was like, it like personified like how I felt when I was there. It was like lonely, I was still having like fun with my teammates. My teammates at Eastern were so great. Loved them all. It was such an enjoyable time with them. The baseball side of it was kind of where it was more challenging for me. But I remember that was like, I am here by myself, like I got 1 month to go. Let's just dog it out. And I remember I packed my stuff up and I lived out of my suitcase for the last month because I was like, the second we are done, I'm getting out of here. Like I'm never coming back. Not really. I loved Eastern, but there were challenges. But and so when that last game, it was like a Sunday, played our last game on a Sunday. I had an exit meeting, I think, on like a Monday or whatever. I remember I had it early in the morning. And I remember thinking, I'm just going to go to that exit meeting. My stuff's been packed for a month. I'm going to get in the truck and I'm going to head out. I talked with the coaches. They knew I wasn't coming back. I never said that, but they did know that. They thanked me for like my effort, my attitude. And I thank them for the opportunity. They could have cut me. I'm thankful they let me hang around. And I remember getting in the truck and I was expecting to experience this feeling of like overwhelming happiness. Like, let's go. It's over. Now I can just be excited to play baseball again, or excited to just not be doing that. And it just kind of hit me in the chest. It was like just a conviction of, was I a good role model, or was I a good representation of Christ to my teammates? I remember driving on I-75 and it just smacked me. And I remember thinking, like, some of these dudes I'll probably never see again. And I hope I was a good representation of what a Christian should be like. I wasn't involved with the negative parts of college you see. Like, that's just not who I am. And I'm thankful that I was raised in a way that, like, I kind of knew right from wrong, sort of thing. And so, like, I was never really involved with that part of it. But just as my daily life as like a positive teammate, a good friend, I was just hoping that even if I wasn't talking about my relationship with Christ, I was hoping that I was a good representation of it. Because I did. I mean, I talked about my faith and stuff, and people kind of clown me sometimes. They would call me some stuff, like just like the buddy teammate thing. But I mean that stinks, sometimes when you're hearing that, even if it isn't, like, they're just kind of like clowning with you. So they knew like what I was about, but I was like, man, I really hope they saw Jesus in my actions and how I talked and stuff. So yeah, that was kind of like a crazy feeling when I was on the way home, because I was expecting like let's go, like seeing it like a dramatic movie, seeing it in the rearview mirror, like, see you, dude, like, let's like bigger, better things. That was kind of what I was expecting. And I get in there and the Lord hit me like, oh man, like convicted. And so when that happened, to go back to like your original question and what I was saying is like, that made me think, no, like, I'm not done with baseball. I have so many opportunities to be with teammates, and show them Jesus Christ in my actions. And like, that was like chapter 1 of the test. I was challenged. I didn't fail the test, but it was kind of like an awakening of like, you can do better, And so that was kind of a challenge to me when I got to Cumberlands, which I knew that's where I was going to be the entire time when I was decided I wanted to leave. It was a challenge to me when I got to Cumberlands to use what I experienced and what I learned at Eastern to be a good Christian teammate, friend, and just like role model. Like, I mean, I wanted to be what I had plenty of great role models at Eastern, but I wanted like a Christian teammate I wanted to be that for other people at Cumberland. So that was kind of how I was doubting baseball. And then God was like, no, you can use baseball to build relationships and lead people to me,
Yeah. I remember Jeremiah 29:11. I would pound that verse in my head. Just for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future.
That's awesome.
It was terrible. Like, like I feel like holding on to that little mustard seed of like faith. Because I remember going home too for the last time, packing up my apartment. I was with my girlfriend. And we were like, yeah, see ya. But then I just felt like I felt hit too. It was just like, dang, like I loved some of these people here. I will have best friends that I'll have for the rest of my life. I'll go up there sometimes too now that, my roommate, my first roommate at college, Owen, he's there. So I go and hang out with him sometimes. But yeah, I loved those people. They were amazing people. And but yeah, that I agree with you. I think looking back, I wish I would have been more of a example of Christ to others, because I started to really question if I was after the fact. And like I said earlier, 2020 vision, you look back and you're like, dang, I wish I would have been more. And I told myself that I was going to do that for the rest of my career. It's to be different, to really lead like Jesus would, and to walk the same path that he walked. And you're doing a great job of that. You're leading life group here. You are a really good role model. So the things that you want to be, you are. So it's been really nice to finally be your teammate and experience this fall with you. It's been awesome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So you hit the portal, you're back in Williamsburg, and you're playing for the Cumberlands. And like you said, you're playing for your dad. So that's kind of a really cool thing to experience. But did you ever have a moment like while you're at Cumberlands, like looking back on your journey to get to Cumberlands, like all the things that you went through, where you truly felt God worked? Did you have that full circle moment that, where you didn't understand something at the time, and you're looking back and you're like, you know what, I understand it now. Like I understand why I was going through what I went through, or why I was faced with certain things for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, like it's crazy to me. I'm a 6-year senior. I would have never in my life imagined being a 6-year senior. I remember growing up, I'm a huge college basketball fan. I remember growing up watching college basketball being like, 6 years, dude, like get a job. Like, what are we doing? And don't get me wrong, I do think like there are instances where it's like, okay, enough is enough. Like if there was a scenario where it's like, oh, Clay has to have a 7th year, like God forbid, obviously, it'd be like, no, I probably just need to get a job, But every situation is different. Every situation is unique, 100%. But I remember thinking like that would never be me, and here I am. And looking back on the injuries I've had, redshirting my freshman year. So I redshirted my freshman year at Eastern, obviously. And then my second year at Cumberlands, I got hurt, broke my hand, ankle injury the same season. So I had to redshirt my entire second year at Cumberlands. So I didn't play my senior year. I didn't play my freshman year. I played my sophomore year. I didn't play my junior year. So I played one season in like a 5-year span from like 2019 to like 2024. And so looking back, it's like at the time I was like, dude, why does this sort of thing keep happening? Like, how unlucky am I? Like, really a global pandemic my senior year? Like, I stink, man. That's the worst. I have such bad luck, and I get hurt. And at the time it felt crazy, but now it's like I wouldn't be here with you if that sort of thing didn't happen. I wouldn't be able to build these relationships if that sort of thing didn't happen. And it's like the cliche of like, it'll all work out, like just trust in God's timing, which I mean, that is true, but like,
Yeah.
It's easier said than done. Like
Exactly.
When someone's going through a hard time, it's like, oh, just trust God's timing. It's like, well, dude, you're not going through the hard time. It's easy for you to tell me that, But now looking back, it's like, holy cow, it really did all work out. And it's part of the Lord's will to for me to just experience these things with people, build relationships with people. And like you said, leading the life group, like that's been such a huge thing for me. I was raised in a Christian home, going to church. I was always in like Bible studies, RAs, youth group, anything like that. But I would have never really thought like I would be the one doing the majority of the talking, like I would talk in those settings. I would give my opinions, but I probably would have not seen myself doing this, because my first year at Cumberlands, we did a life group and I was the like second in charge, I guess you could say. They'd be like, Clay, can we use the basement? I'm like, yeah, come over. and I would sit next to the dude who was leading it, and I would just kind of say some stuff sometimes. And so like the growth from sixth year Clay to that was second year Clay, like that's just looking back, it's unbelievable. And so I'm thankful for literally all of the trials and tribulations that I've been through to get to this point now as a baseball player, but as a Christian. That's really been the biggest thing is just my growth overall that I've been grateful for, you know?
Yeah. And I think that's cool. Like you are letting us into your house and, preparing food for the team. And like that sense of family is awesome. So that leads me into, your dad, Coach Shelton, one of the coolest head coaches that I've had. I mean, he treats his players with respect. He's a competitor. He does it the right way. Man of faith, like praying before games. He really like prioritizes that. It's his 30th year coaching. I looked up his record. He's got 1,102 wins. Very successful. Most winningest baseball coach in the program's history. So that's sick. I mean, how is that? How is he being there as your head coach? How has he shaped you as a player and as a man?
Yeah. So when I was getting recruited and I wasn't getting recruited by Cumberlands, he's the head coach. So like that was kind of like everybody was like, "Hey, dude, like, what's the deal? Why isn't your son coming to Cumberlands?" He would always say, he would be like, "Yeah, we're very similar," is what he would say. He'd be like, "In our personalities, it's probably best for him to just go experience other things, you know." And like that was a knock. He was just talking on his personality and my personality, and how like we have arguments, and it's not a disrespect thing. It's not a nagging parent thing. It's not a disrespect thing from my perspective. It's just like I don't know, just your basic arguments between two people that have very similar personalities and can kind of combat sometimes. And so when I was in high school, and obviously I've matured a lot since I was in high school, but when I was in high school, it was kind of like, I don't know how well they would mesh being father, son on the same team. I remember sometimes he would throw us BP and I might smart off a little bit being the idiot I was. And he'd be like, "Dude, you just can't play for me, man. Like just stop talking, quit being a smart aleck," basically. And at the time I'm like, you think you know everything, you know, like in my head, I'm like, I know everything. And he would just tell me like, knock it off. But as I've matured and as I've gotten here, we've realized that like it's been perfect. We kind of have it's like a business like approach. When we're at the field, we really don't talk much. I mean, if he asks for my opinion about something, I'll give it. If I need help with something, I'll ask. But it's like it's not daddy ball. I'm not over here like, "Coach, this guy did this or this guy did this," or "Dad, can I do this?" It's basically like, I treat me as if I am a random player. If that means you just don't talk to me at practice that day, that's what that means. And then when we get home, you know, I mean, he might be like, "Oh, good job today," or "You need to do this," or whatever. But for the most part, we don't even talk about baseball, you know? And so that's been really good. It's just like, it's been a great way to manage like our personalities. Like I said, we're very similar in a lot of ways, and treating it that way is kind of like dad and son at the baseball field are just coach and player, and then their dad and son when they get home, sort of thing. So that's been really good. These are like obviously times that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, you know? It's been a great experience, and he has given a great blueprint for how to treat people my entire life as far as players. And so now it's like, as a player, I can help people. Maybe if they don't understand what he's talking about or what he intends, I can help like, "Hey, I've seen what he's done. You know, like I understand what's going on." I can be like, "He meant to do this." I can help communicate things. But I can also make sure people feel that they are loved in a different way. Like I don't want to be a quote unquote extension of the coach, like my dad, you know. I don't want it to be like assistant coach Clay is also really nice. I want it to be like, holy cow, coach is a good coach. He treats us right. And then Clay, a leader on the team, he also treats us right in a different, unique way, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think it's super important that, like, he's shown me how to treat people, but I don't need to treat my teammates like a coach would treat their players. I need to treat my teammates like they're my teammates.
Yes.
So he's just shown me I'm just how to be a good person, a good man, a good Christian. And seeing him from a player perspective has been super, super beneficial for me. Because it's a unique experience a lot of people don't get to have, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll remember this stuff that he's teaching, or like remember the moments for the rest of my life. So it's been really, really good.
Yeah. And I have a sense of that, obviously not in college, but my dad was an assistant coach on a high school team. So if, you know, I had a bad game, I was like, dang, you know, dad's watching me. It just sucks, you know. So I guess I was just interested in to see your perspective of it. Because I mean, you're at the highest level. This is college baseball, and you're playing for. I mean, Cumberlands is one of the best NAIA schools ever. I mean, I had known of the University of the Cumberlands for my whole entire life. I lived an hour away, so it was cool. It was cool to kind of see it full circle. Like I didn't really, I never know what to expect. You know, once I committed to EKU, I was like, I want to be there for 4 years. I had no clue where this would lead me, but now I'm here, and it's awesome, man. I mean, I love the coaching staff. All of them are amazing. My teammates are great. But bro, this experience, this fall was the best fall I've had in college, from a community standpoint, from a baseball standpoint, from teammate family based standpoint. It's all been great, and it's been an awesome growing period to finally get and see just everything that God had in store for me. You know, I feel like that earlier I had that that question of like, why am I here? Well, now I understand. You know, I went to IUS. I went to IU Southeast. I didn't have a great year there. I hit 250. I was really battling some mental issues and having a hard time understanding why I was at EKU in the first place, you know, and really questioning my future in baseball. I didn't really know if I wanted to play whenever I hit the portal the first time. Luckily, Coach Neff gave me opportunity, and I loved building a community there, and it's kind of sparked my joy back for baseball again. So now it's cool to finally be, you know, I feel normal. Yeah, again, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like a big piece of me was missing for a really long time, and something that I kept my whole entire life. So it's really cool it's a refresher to be at the Cumberlands with the coaching staff that we have with you. I mean, you're one of the best leaders that I've had from a joking standpoint, like being able to like be the light, be the joy, but also, you know, when it's rock and roll time, like it's time to go. And I can see why you all have been so successful over the years. So it's cool to finally be a part of it.